Hey, welcome to vlog number 3. So today what we're focusing on is combining the user interface that we made with the backend API that we made. We're going to make the first working version of the account sorting page, and then from there we'll see how far we get. We might try to finish the backend API. We might move that into the planting dialog as well. But before I get to that, welcome to the first ever episode of Cooking with Andre, where we focus on survival during the quarantine. So yeah, let me show you what I've got here. Just real quick, I'm not gonna spend more than just like a few minutes, but yeah, so here, check it out. This is what I've got to work with today. I like to try to eat in a pretty functional way. Obviously things that taste good mostly are good for you, except for, like stuff with lots of sugar or fat. But yeah, this is what I've just got lying around, things that are kind of going bad and should be eaten reasonably soon. I've got potatoes, which are a great source of carbohydrates, sugars that your body needs. I've got king oyster mushrooms, which are one of the best mushrooms ever, and they are a complete source of protein. So this is actually a full meat replacement by itself. Then we have, some vegetables. I've got some carrots. I'm going to spiralize these. It's going to be really cool. They produce these like little strands. And then yeah, we have just like a little bit of broccoli just because it's going bad. And then I've got some fresh dill over there, which is also going bad. And that goes spectacularly well with potatoes. So yeah, mix a little bit of cabbage in that. Make kind of like a salad type thing. And we'll see how it tastes in a little bit. Alright, let's get started on the king oyster mushrooms, which are, you can cook them quickly, but I like to cook them for quite a while so they're like really soft on the inside, really crispy on the outside. There's, like, when cooking mushrooms, you don't really need to use any oil. They actually are like almost entirely burn proof, which is a little bit crazy, just because of their natural composition. And they release a lot of their own juices, so actually it's very possible to have them cook just like directly on a frying pan with nothing. With king oyster mushrooms, these guys, there's kind of two main tricks that you can do with them. One is if you slice them into little rounds, then they kind of get this like scallopy type texture and feeling. It's really quite nice. And then otherwise, if you tear them into strips, then they have a lot of like this meaty kind of texture. Alright, on to a fun new step. Check it out. What I have here is my spiralizer. Yeah, spiralizer. just wanted to quickly show off one of these mushrooms. So this is what it like looks like at the end. You can see I kind of like scored it, so it kind of has this sort of texture on it, and it's crispy on the outside but still moist and nice on the inside. Especially with that little bit of salt and pepper. It's just perfectly delicious, and yeah, to me it really doesn't need anything much more than just its natural flavors. Really, really good. Highly recommend oyster mushrooms. Check it out. So here it is. We got our fried oyster mushrooms. We have our potatoes with dill. We have our spiralized carrots and cabbage, banana peppers on top that I got out of the fridge. And the way that I like to eat my food is I like to eat a single meal a day, something like 1,700 calories all at once. And then basically just know that I've gotten all the calories and nutrition that I need for that day. I don't need to spend any more energy or time thinking about, like, am I getting enough food? Am I getting too much? Do I want to eat this or that? If I find myself really, really desperately hungry, you know, I'll eat a snack, of course. I'm not like into self-masochism, but the 1 meal a day thing does work for me pretty well. I usually have my meal at around 6 p.m., something like that. And then I like to take an hour and a half, digest, relax, let my body go through that process. And then afterwards, once my body is done spending energy on digestion, I can feel good, get to work, spend, you know, as many hours as I need to until the next day. So yeah, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to relax, take it easy, and then I'll get back to the coding task for the day after dinner. All right, cheers. Hey, all right, great. So it's another late night, unfortunately, but I'll get my schedule on track at some point here. Anyway, I'm really excited to show you what I've put together. So basically, I've done the glue code that controls all the components and changes the UI to use the filters that we have so far. So let me start off just by showing you that. It's pretty cool, pretty fun. So here's my browser. I'll close this for now. And so yeah, imagine I've just landed on this page here. I'm looking at my collection, pretty sweet. But, you know, I really only want to see the epics. All right, sweet. No, but I only see the epics that are water type. Boom. Clear that out. You know, again, let's say I want to see some rares. Got a whole lot of rares here, 2 pages of them. But I'm actually only looking for a particular ice rare that I had in mind. Well, guess it might be one of these guys. Pretty sweet. Beyond kind of like the obvious part here, there's also a lot of, you know, small details that you always end up having to worry about. So for example, let's see, do we have any lava ones? No. So, no flowers found, it says. And then there's also stuff like when you change accounts or change which page you're looking at, like React is sometimes a little bit too smart because it's trying to reuse the same page and the same component, but with new data. So you have to make sure that it like resets all the filters and starts from scratch again when you change accounts. So here I change accounts, all the filters reset back to default. This account only has these unusuals for whatever reason. And again, if I do like lava, nothing, I can clear it, nothing, change the rarity legendary, nothing, hit the back button, which actually does not like literally do a page change, it just sort of changes some data again, and the page stays the same. Hit the back button, we easily get back to my main huge lung profile, and everything works again. So yeah, pretty sweet. The implementation of this is not overly complicated. There's some details about how we have to like route calls through our web server to the Flower database that implements a search. I'm not really going to go into that part, but let's take a look at the general idea. So as we left off last time, we have this card filters object. And to recap, when people change the filters, it updates the state. The state has options like rarity choice, land choice, planted choice, sort by choice, sort order choice. When the filters change, this function handle filter change gets called. This will update the state based on like which things change. So if you change the rarity, it updates that rarity choice, which then causes the UI to change. And then what we do here is we call a callback. The callback first makes a flower query object. So remember, when we were defining this flower DB service, we defined this protobuf flower query message type, which gets translated into JavaScript. So we create one of these flower queries basically by setting up this data, the account that we want, the filters that we want, and the sorting method that we want. We use the drop downs to fill it up, and then we call our callback. You can see this line here, this.props.onFilterChange. This.props.onFilterChange is a property that's coming into card filters from its parent component called collection. So see, in the parent component, which is sort of controlling the list of flowers and everything, we create the card filters objects, we pass in which account we want, and then we handle when the filters change using this handle filters change function. Handle filters change function takes a flower query, and this is kind of where the API magic happens. So check this out. Basically, we use a promise object, and our promises inside of my world are cancelable. So a promise can start fetching some data, and then you can say, okay, never mind, I don't care about that anymore, and it won't like finish. So we cancel any existing promise if we have one. If we're actually just clearing the filters, we have nothing, then we set this filter list to nothing. But if that's not the case, if we do have some filters that are coming in, then we use this util.postapi.eth_flowerdb.find, which eventually routes down to that find card function that we wrote in the first episode. This returns back a list of flowers. So when the promise is done, we have this.findPromise.promise.then, and when it gets the results, it sets it into the state of the collection. So we have this filter list, right? So again, we asked for rares, the server gave us the list of rares, we load that into our state for the collection, and then down here we can say like, hey, if we have a filter list, then basically use it for our pagination, which is the like some people call it a carousel. It's like the set of pages where you can flip through and see the cards that you have. And that's literally as simple as that part pretty much is. I had to fix a few things here and there, a little bit of details behind about like, again, routing through the web server and off to the Flower database, then back through the web server and down. But pretty straightforward. And because this is all driven by protobuf, here, check this out. This is like really kind of magic. Imagine one day I decided that we really need a moon type for land. So I can just go in here, type in moon, give it a new identifier because everything needs to have a unique like number associated, and then I have a magic script called npm run protobufs. This very quickly takes this protobufs object that we have and it again compiles it into JavaScript and Go code. Okay, it's done. And then as soon as I go back to this page and reload it, in this dropdown we have moon all of a sudden. So like in a sense, like the protobuf acts as the configuration, and because everything in the site reads it, it's really easy to change just like one thing and then have everything just magically work. Protobufs are also designed to be what they call forward compatible. So basically you can add stuff in as long as you don't change like the old structure that was there, but you can add new data, new fields, new options, and everything will handle that gracefully. Yeah, and I think, this is not really going to work. If I click on moon, it's just going to say, hey, there's no moon flowers. But yeah, it would work if they were there, which is pretty sweet. Anyway, so yeah, in tomorrow's episode, I'm going to come back to this and do the final polish. I'm going to yeah, maybe clean up the UI a little bit more, make it a tiny bit prettier. I'm going to implement the remaining filters and sorting order stuff that I need to do. And then also, if we have time, I'll make it so that it uses our own database to fetch the flowers instead of using Ethereum. And in theory, this might make the entire like collection navigation thing much snappier and feel like almost weirdly too fast for a crypto site, because it is too fast for a crypto site. It'll be using our own internal server infrastructure and caching systems. Um, so yeah, that'll be pretty cool. And you know, I hate waiting. Obviously, the faster the site can go, the better. All right. Well, yeah. Thank you so much for having fun with me today. It was cool being able to cook a nice meal. I did end up a little bit under calories and ended up having a snack later on the day, but yeah, obviously I'm really happy about that, and I'm really excited to get this launched. So I think it's going to go out this week. Definitely 2 days tops to get this done, and then we can move back on to a whole bunch of other really cool, exciting projects like wallet support, harvesting, crafting, yeah, whatever else that we decide is the most important, whatever the community thinks is the most important. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for watching. Really appreciate y'all. And yeah, see you tomorrow.